All right. And I believe we're recording right now. Okay. So welcome, everybody. My name is Christine Harrell, and I'm the Executive Director of Virginia Community Yoga. Some of you guys may have heard of us. We've been in the jail system, the youth system, teaching yoga, meditation, nonviolent communication in our at-risk populations. During this COVID time, unfortunately, we cannot go into those facilities and conduct what we love to do. So it came to my mind of what can we do to let our people out there know who Virginia Community Yoga was, what do we do? We could definitely do a lot of yoga classes online, but they're beautiful instructors that are already doing it, yoga and meditation. And our mission for Virginia Community Yoga is actually touching everybody out there. And in this times, having the social distancing, mental health is on the rise. And so Virginia Community Yoga, me, myself, Christina Harrell, came up with these videos. And these videos are stories of people's lives. Real stories, real people, no actors involved, and just spreading their story and where they're at now. You know, there is always hope. And in the world that we live in at this moment, I think these stories need to be heard. I do want to say that these are raw, uncut, unedited videos that you will see. So if you need get some tissue and whatnot, because it might bring up a little bit of something about your own life. And the first person I want to bring on is somebody who I honor so much and look up to. And some of you guys will hear that some of you guys heard stories about him. Those my students into the jails as well have heard stories about him. And I think he is one of the biggest motivators on what I do for Virginia Community Yoga, teaching in the jails prison system. His name is Carlos Bergante, and we're going to talk a little bit about his journey on where he was, and which means that you're going to hear more about our own family life growing up. And I want to let him talk about it. But right now, with this amazing, Zoom, this technology, I get to see him knowing that he's not living in Virginia. He's living all the way to Brazil with his beautiful family. So I'm just going to ask him, it's a question and answer kind of thing, and we're just going to flow with it. And so I want to welcome Carlos Bergante. Carlos, if you want to talk a little bit about what you do, who you are, your family, and whatnot.
Yeah, sure. So first I want to say thank you, Christine, for inviting me here. This is my first time doing a podcast like this, and your introduction. I look at you the same way. You motivate me. And your energy is contagious, and I see what you've done and where you came from, and it really motivates me to get to that other level too. So I think the energy is likewise, But so a little bit about myself. So my name is Carlos Bergante. Some people know me by Kaloy. My family calls me Kaloy. That's my nickname. My full name is Talofio Carlos Artatis Bergante III. So my family did not want to leave anybody out, and so I carry everybody's name. So, but I currently live in Brazil with my beautiful family. My wife is Brazilian. I have 3 beautiful kids, Kai, Kiara, and Caterina. And you probably heard stories about me in the past,
which we'll really get nitty gritty into,
Yeah,
and
I'm pretty sure Christine has some questions that are going to bring out some memories and some lessons that I've learned that have definitely changed my life for the better.
Right.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
that's a little
Well,
bit about me.
wonderful. So, you're my older brother, and we did live a hard life. Wouldn't say harder than most people, but we did live a hard life growing up, being first generation Filipinos here in the States, correct? Parents living are Filipino. Um, so, if you could paint a picture a bit, like, what was life before your first time being incarcerated? I want to say, what was, what were the triggers, in a sense, that pushed you to do those actions that caused you to be incarcerated? What is that picture? What was that within your mind, your
Mhm.
perception of the life that you were living? So paint that picture for us, because again, I'm 3 years younger than him. So if you could give us, like, even the age when all this within your body, within your feelings of, like, what the hell,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, to start off, I had a lot of time to reflect to why I got incarcerated, why I did the things I did to get incarcerated. At the time, I did not know. I was a frustrated individual with a lot of anger, a lot of hate, um, a lot of negativity. And and as I got older, I understood where that was coming from. So I'm going to start there. Um, I'm not going to play the victim mindset or anything like that, but it stemmed from our upbringing, from our parents, mainly our father. So a little bit about that. So of course I carry my father's name, um, and for me that's something that I always think about. But we'll get into that later. But so yeah, my father wasn't the best father. Um, he was very abusive. He did drugs, mentally, physically abusive. You know, um, I've seen him, beat my mom. I used to get beatings on a daily, even my brothers and sisters. Um, and that's what built a lot of my insecurities, my hatred, my negativity. I just didn't have that father figure that everybody pictures. The perfect father. And when I looked around, I saw other families. I saw a father that was loving, that was caring. Um, when you look at movies, we didn't have social media at the time, but when you look at movies and things like that, they always painted a different picture than what we had. So I always felt like, am I actually supposed to be here?
Mm-hmm.
Is this the life that I'm supposed to live? Because everywhere you look, it was something different. And I felt very alone. I didn't know where to turn to, you know, because the man that I looked up to wasn't the ideal man. And I learned a lot of bad things from him, a lot of bad things from him.
Yeah.
So, um, with that being said, I tried to follow in my dad's footsteps, because that was the only male influence. I wouldn't say the only male influence. I had others, like my uncles, but he was the main one. He was the main one, and my father used to glorify, bad things, like drinking, drugs, being tough, not showing emotion, um, you know, those things.
Yeah.
And so that is what I tried to fulfill, because I thought that's how a man's
Yeah.
supposed to be. That's what's going to make him happy, you
Yeah.
know. So I went that route. I went that route. I started drinking early on. I started doing drugs. I tried to be. I was a bully. I was a bully with my friends, with my brothers and sisters. Um, and I had a big ego. I didn't have any consciousness. I didn't have a conscience at the time. I looked at that as being something of being weak.
Mm.
You know, and it brought me to all the wrong places. I met all the wrong people. uh, uh, I surrounded the people that were around me were brought to that negative energy. So I had a lot of negativity around me. um, and eventually all of that came crashing down. And then I ended up getting locked up. I ended up getting locked up several times,
Yeah.
not just once.
So that first time that you got locked up, what was, I guess, the situation at that time, and what was going through your mind once you got those cuffs on your wrist?
Mhm.
What was your mind thinking? I mean, like I heard stories. Like again, I was 3 years younger. I'm 3 years younger, and I heard stories of, yo, your brother's crazy, or if they knew what my last name was, they're like, yo, don't even talk to her. Her brother's crazy. Like, what
uh,
was that first time? So I knew how crazy you were. It's not a laughing matter, but in a sense, it is a laughing matter because we can actually look back and be like, damn, that was our life. And it's made us
mhm.
who we are today. But that first time being locked up, what was going through your mind? Were you like, fuck them? Like, F the cops, F my family, I don't care? Or were you like that fear, like, oh my God, this is actually happening, you know?
you know I can't. I got locked up so many times. I can't even remember the first time, to be honest with you.
Right.
But one of the first times, I mean, one of the very first times, I got locked up as a juvenile. So I used to skip school a lot. I used to skip school a lot. And we used to go to people's houses that their parents weren't home.
Mm-hmm.
And one time in particular, I remember we went to this person's house, and their parents had a bar, you know. So everyone skipped at this person's house, and we ended up drinking all the stuff in their parents' house, And we were drunk. I think I was like 13 or 14. We were super drunk in the house. And people were, during the school hours. It was probably in the morning, probably before lunch. We were totally drunk, outside, music blazing, like nothing was happening. So this is one of the very first, and I remember that the police had came, the neighbors had called because there was a bunch of school kids in someone's house.
Mm-hmm.
They called, they came, they picked us up, and I wouldn't say I got incarcerated, but this is one of the first times that I encountered the police. And they brought me in the police car and brought me to school pissed drunk. And I remember I was in detention, or ISS, I think it's called at the time, and I was there throwing up. I remember they came, and when you get in ISS or detention, you have to have an assignment where they make you copy a dictionary or something like this. And I just looked at it and I just threw up. I just threw up. And I remember my mom coming there, and she was crying and she was very upset. And you know, to be honest, I was just like, I was a rebel. I was like, whatever. I didn't want to. I always wanted to go against the system. And I mean, this was the first time for me to encounter, one of the first times encountering the police. Actually coming there and disciplining me, and getting me, and the authorities, I would say.
And
But since I remember, even in elementary school, I was always a troublemaker. I was always the one with his desk up at the front, like the chalkboard is here. My desk was at the front of the chalkboard. Because I was always annoying everybody, because I was always going against what the teacher has said.
yeah.
I was the annoyance in the class. And I remember in particular, I was my mom never. I get my mom knew, but there was a parent-teacher meeting, and my mom came, and I remember I was there, and the teacher had showed my mom exactly where I was sitting, and it wasn't with the other kids. It was up at the front of the chalkboard where I couldn't see anybody. The first thing I saw was the chalkboard in front of me, because I was annoying so many people in the back. I was a class clown. I was a
Yeah.
troublemaker, and so yeah. I've just always had a problem with authority, you
And
know.
I guess, and yeah, and knowing our
Yeah,
father, he was very authority. You don't do it,
yeah.
ass beat kind of thing. And um,
And I always had a problem with that because our father was like, don't do this, don't do that, you know. But then on the other end, he would be doing these things, you know. He would be doing these things. Don't do this, but then he would be doing this, you know. Don't don't do drugs, but then he would be doing this. Or you shouldn't be doing this, but he would be glorifying stories of when he was young and doing these things, getting into bar fights and
yeah,
fighting people, you know. And it wasn't a story of learning a lesson. It was like glorifying that,
yeah,
you know, men get into fights, we get drunk, and then
yeah.
we have to do this, you know. This is something that a man does, you know.
So
So in my eyes, I was like, yeah, this
yeah,
this is this is what a man's supposed to be, you know what I mean? So
so
uh
definitely our
that's
environment is
yeah.
what pushed us. Being adolescent, again, I was young at that time, and I know that the divorce hit us very, very hard. In a sense, I had a different perspective about that, but during that time, I don't think you were even around. I mean, you were out with your friends constantly.
Right.
You turned to your friends as family, you know, when shit was falling apart at home, kind of thing. Um, so, kind of fast forward a bit. Thank you for painting that picture. You know, because again, I was kind of young in my own little world at that time. I was feeling a lot of fear, but didn't have the words to express it. Because I think being a female in that household, you don't say anything, kind of thing. You know, coming into a Filipino culture, it was just like that in a sense. But seeing it in my own eyes of, especially the moment when Pop threw knives at you and you got stuck with one, and all those fights, you know. Again, telling people this is raw stuff. Those that know me outside of what I do, your eyes are probably like, whoa, but you know what? This is some real stuff. If you know me, you know how real I try to get, you know? Well, anyways, going back, being incarcerated, well, how many times have you been incarcerated? I just remember your second home was jail. Like we would, you know, at that time, when you were always incarcerated, we weren't living, we were pretty much living in the hood of Ocean View or barely making it or whatever. And I can remember you would call, and again, I was young, you would call and be, I'll be over here. And then mom would take us in the car and we would go, we would just see you in your jumpsuit. And I, you know what I mean? Again, I was in my own little world kind of thing. How many times were you locked up? If you can maybe
Yeah, you know
make a
what?
guesstimation.
Between so I would say when as soon as I turned an adult, let me just give you a rough of why I got locked up and just how
Yes.
crazy how ludicrous that was. So before I was even 21, this is when shit really hit the fan, you know. And I think the world that it happened to me earlier in my life, because some people start hitting rock bottom when you know, they're in their 30s and 40s and they have families and they have a career. Before I was 21, I had 3 DUIs already, three, you know, but I was lucky. So I believe it was the summer before I turned 21. Yeah, so I can't remember. It was probably like 1998. No, I'm sorry, 1996 or 97, right? Was really bad. You know, our parents were separated. I never wanted to be at home. You know, my dad was never around. He moved to New York, you know, and he never came around. Um, and when he did, it wasn't really like it wasn't the quality time that he should be having with his son that was going through a lot of problems, or his family with a lot of problems, you know. So I can't even remember how many times I got locked up. You know, sometimes I got locked up and it was for a day or two, and then mom would come bail me out,
Mhm.
you know, and then I would be back on the street again, and then I would get locked up again, and then it would be for like a month, and then I would be out again. So it was little stints here and there, but for sure it was more than, you know, it was more than I could count on one hand. It had to be, you know.
Yeah.
But so that summer, um, I got 3 DUIs and I got really lucky. You know, my biggest vice was alcohol. I love to drink. You know, I thought it was very masculine. I thought, you know, I felt invisible when I was on it, so I would do anything. You know, I would drink and get into fights. I would drink and drive, and that was my thing. So this summer, before I even turned 21, I caught 3 DUIs in that summer. You know, so the first one I got locked up. Of course, my mom came and bailed me out. You know, and then a month later, I got another DUI, right? And I got bailed out again a couple of days later. And luckily, so I got 2 DUIs, and I didn't even go to court for those 2 DUIs yet, right? And no, I'm sorry. I went to court for the first one, and I got my driver's license suspended. Yeah, I got my driver's license suspended. Then I caught the second DUI, right?
Yeah, because I don't think that stopped you.
Yeah, that didn't stop me. And I was drunk and driving on a suspended license, right? And then so what happened? I was drunk and driving on a suspended license on my second one, got busted. I don't even remember how long I spent in jail for that one. I think it was like a month or something like that, something very lenient with some community service or something like that. I got out, and right after that, I caught a third DUI. But in Virginia at the time, and I don't know if they still have it, they have the 3 strikes rule, you know? And after 3 strikes, I think you get like a lot of years. I think something like 20 years, no matter what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I got really lucky because the first DUI I got was a first offense DUI. The second DUI I got was a second offense DUI. And the third DUI I got was so close to the second one, I didn't even go to court for the second one yet. So they put those kind of two together. And so it was just a second offense DUI, you know, so I got really lucky. And that third one was really the icing on the cake for me, you know, because I was looking at a lot of time. I wasn't just drinking and driving too, you know. I was stealing stuff too. I was a thief, you know. I was a thief.
So would you say you were pretty much addicted to alcohol at a very young age? Were you?
I was addicted to alcohol. I was addicted to stealing too.
Yeah.
I was addicted to
It was
stealing.
a thrill.
It was a thrill, and not only that, you know, we didn't have a lot of money growing up, and you know, I look around, and my friends had this. They had the new Super Nintendo, and they had this, and they had that, and I wanted these things too. We didn't have money, you know, so I would go out and steal it. You know, I would go steal stuff. I was so crazy that one of the ones that really stuck out in my mind that I was thinking about the other day was I robbed from people that robbed other people because I know that they were stealing stuff. And so I know they had a bunch of stuff. So I'd rob them and steal the stuff that they stole. And in one particular case, I knew this guy who was stealing car stereos, you know, and car equipment. So I was thinking, you know what? I'm going to go rob him and steal all the stuff he stole. And this is one of the biggest ones because I went there and I went there and I stole. I broke into his car. The neighbors saw me. They called the police. I actually got away, but I had left my dad's truck there, which they traced back to me. And so yeah, that eventually caught up to me. What's that?
I was saying doing all those was a thrill. And this is something that I talk to my students in jail is you could either have long-term happiness or you could either have short-term happiness. And most of the time when we do all these things, it's this adrenaline, a thrill thing, but it's this short-term happiness. And then it's like a drug. Then you need to get more because you need more of that happiness, more of that happiness. And is that something that you feel like you were doing at that time, like stealing, getting high, or, you know, doing drugs, drinking? Not only that, but numbing the pain that I guess we had endured as kids and whatnot.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, there was an adrenaline high from it. But I think also it was kind of like the way that I knew to be cool, you know. I wanted to fit in. And
it was an ego.
It was an ego thing, you know, like drinking was the in thing. And I just couldn't handle my drink, you know. I really got crazy. And I saw my dad doing it. And I thought it was okay, and I think it was a mixture of things. It was the drinking, it was the lack of respect for authority,
Mhm.
and me being determined to get exactly what I want. Um, I think that's a good thing and a bad thing in these days because I still have goals, but I do it the right way this time.
Right.
Whereas before, I wanted something that I would go steal it. I go rob somebody for it. I do something totally
Yeah.
illegal to get the money to buy it. You know what I'm saying? So
That in a
that
sense, it is somewhat like an addict. You put these blinds up, and this is my goal, and this is what I'm gonna do. I don't care
yeah,
what's gonna happen. I'm just gonna freaking do it.
and a conscience without a conscience too is
Exactly.
a dangerous
Exactly.
mix, because I hurt a lot of people,
Yeah.
even with my drinking and driving. I believe the third DUI that I got, I was driving, and we just got done drinking at a park and smoking blunts and all of this stuff. And I specifically remember a lot of people were telling me, Carlos, don't drive, man. I think we were drinking 151 at the park,
Mhm.
and I specifically, many people told me, don't get in the car and drive. And in my head, I was like, I shouldn't be driving. But I didn't listen to anybody. Like, my conscience was speaking to me, and it was speaking to other people. And what I did, I got in the car and I drove, and I was going down Furrow Parkway very fast, and I smashed right into a car that was at a stoplight, right in the back. And then I reversed the car and took off. In my luck, there was a police officer right there at the stoplight in a car. He saw the whole thing go down, and it was just like the cops video. They called the police, and the helicopter
So
came and
that
they
was the
took me
time that
down.
you were getting chased by the cops.
That was one times I got
Oh
chased
God,
by the cops.
Jesus.
And yeah, that was icing on the cake, because then that brought me in. They saw all the charges that I had accumulated. They saw all the robbery of this guy, that I stole, and everything just came together. They saw the other two DUIs, and they really put some time over my head. They
Right.
said that, I remember I was looking at like 6 years. I
Mhm.
was looking at 6 years, for all of that stuff they were telling me, and
Mhm.
I was like, wow,
Yeah.
really?
So,
Um,
so
mm,
s- while incarcerated, what was
mm,
going into your mind? Now you're incarcerated, you're becoming sober, you don't have your friends, you don't have your family. I know I
mm.
remember mom going to visit, and I have to say, I think you're the one that broke our pocket to end up living in the ghetto, or in the, or not necessarily the ghetto, but I mean like in Ocean View. Uh, you know, I
Yeah.
remember those rough times of not having, and you
Hmm.
weren't there, you were in lockup. And I can remember times mom crying all the time, pop wasn't there. She's a hard ass woman, you know what I mean? But again,
Yeah.
being young, being my own little world, how was it being locked up so many times and sitting there?
Yeah.
And then that last time where mom's like, I can't afford to bail you out no more. You're
Yeah.
not
That was
changed.
that was the best thing she did, because that last time, like and I'm
Like,
gonna
what
go
was
back to
going through
my.
your thoughts while you see
Yeah.
incarceration, listening to people's stories? I don't know
Mhm.
if you're locked up with harder criminals or whatever the case may be. Like, what was going through your mind the first time around, second time around? The first part of being incarcerated, were you like, oh, I can handle this, I can handle this? Obviously you went back and back and back because you didn't learn your lesson, right? You
Mhm.
didn't. And when I say learn your lesson, a lot of people have their own perspective of a correctional facility.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
some people are like, well, it's not really a correctional facility, it's pretty much a place where people go crazy kind of thing because they don't treat you like a human.
Mhm.
That's it for some jails, or some people's perspectives and whatnot. But dealing with all that, dealing with your pain, being locked up behind these bars, cold walls. So I'm painting that picture. No family, no friends, nothing to get you high, nothing for you to tap out of your pain and misery. What was going through your mind? Were you
So
angry in jail? Did you fight in jail? Did your ego have to rise even harder so you
uh,
had to look like you were harder than other people in a sense?
Well, like the saying goes, you're gonna to learn the lesson. You're gonna have to do it over and over again until it's time for you to learn the lesson. And I think all the other times I got locked up, it wasn't long enough. It wasn't long enough. I didn't have time to learn the lesson. It was just like a field trip for me. It was a way to get in there and find out more ways to scheme people, because everybody in there is in there for a certain crime. You know what I'm saying? So jail or prison is what you make it. You can go in there and the first couple of times it was a way to make connections, to do other bad stuff when I got out. You know what I'm saying? To learn more knowledge of being a bad person. But the last time was when it really hit. And to go back to my last time, I was looking at like 6 years. But like you said, mom had put a lot into getting a lawyer, and I got a reduced sentence, with the fact that I had other things on top of it, that I had to go through a very strict therapy program. Um, and I had to complete the therapy program. I had to be on probation for like 2 years. And I had to go do a lot of community service. So out of that 6 years that I was looking at, I only had to do 6 months, which was a deal for me, you know. So, I went in there, and I went
Would
in
you
there.
would you say though, with all the times you've been going into lockup, would
Mhm.
probably equivalent to be a year and some change
Most definitely, most
or
definitely.
more?
It was more. It was more. It was definitely
Because
more.
all I can remember is like, oh, he's back in lockup. Oh, he's back in lockup. Oh, he's back every summer. Oh, he's back there. He's back there.
Yeah, I was definitely going in and out for a span of a couple years. Basically from the span of between 19 to like almost 21.
Yeah,
I was the majority of the time I was getting locked up. I was in jail. I was getting into trouble. Or I
yeah,
was always on the run. You
yeah.
know.
So
Um,
how was it inside? I mean, for you?
so
Yeah,
yeah, the first couple times, like with anything, it really depends on how you look at it and where your mindset is at. So the first couple times, my mindset was just to 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 do my time and get out and continue the same thing over again. You know, but what really got me the second time was that I had a lot of time over my head. That I knew if I were to fuck up now and get out, I would have to do all of that and more. All the years and more. And a big thing is that I saw my mom suffering. She suffered a lot for us. Not just me being in jail and things like that, but all the things she went through with my father, with me, with us, and seeing her go through that really told me, man, I need to make a change in my life, yo. I didn't even graduate high school. I fucked up so bad my senior year in high school that I didn't even graduate high school. So that last time around in jail, that last span, I went in there and I said, I really need to make a change. And that's the truth. We all have that option to make a change in our life. When you wake up in the morning, you have the option to wake up or not. You can stay in bed, and that's the same thing with every decision in your life. I went in there, and I knew what the circumstances were. If I didn't complete this program, I got my GED that last time round. You know, and I went through a very um, I went through a counseling program, a therapeutic program there, for addicts and people just with mental problems and things like that. And I was locked up with a lot of people, from doing everything, from guys just in there, from doing simple drug use to DUIs
yeah,
to murderers to child molesters.
yeah,
And I heard stories. I heard a lot of stories, guys in there, and I was like, maybe 21, maybe 20. And guys were in there like 30, 40, 50 years old, lost their whole family because of drugs, telling stories of how they sold their kids, how they sold themselves, how they, all this stuff, yo. And I was like, my God, yo, I don't want to be like that. And these guys too, they were like, man, what you doing in here, man? You're only 20 years old, man. You got your whole life ahead of you. You know, you want to be like me. You want to be locked. Some guys had linebacker years. They were looking at a lot of time for doing stupid stuff.
yeah,
And I was like, man, I can't imagine that.
yeah.
And And yeah, and so that really changed my attitude right there.
I
That
can
last
remember the time. I think this was probably the last time you got locked up, and Grandpa was a huge part of our family, the head of the
yeah,
family, of course, right? And what I heard was he every time he went into lockup, you know, we would always go to his house over the summer, and he would always ask about it because you were the firstborn grandson and all that. And I can remember Mom saying to him, oh, he had gone to New York or he had gone to whatever, but you were really in lockup. And then eventually he found out.
yeah,
And when
that
he
was it.
eventually found out, I don't think, did you know that he was going to come visit when you were in lockup?
You know, I can't remember if I knew or not, but I knew that was a huge changing point for me. You
When
know,
he
because
walked into those doors, like, can you explain those feelings or paint that picture of when you were having visitation and the person you saw that came in was our grandfather,
mm,
who's now deceased. Did
mhm.
he have the two little girls or the younger?
You know, no, I don't think so because the two young girls never came in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that we were protecting them
Yeah.
from
So
being
when
in that
you
place.
see Grandpa walk in, now, like I
Uh,
said, Grandpa was
wow. Yeah, my grandfather was. I looked up to him. You know, he was one of the men in my family that taught me a lot, a
Mhm.
lot, a lot about myself, about everything that I do. You know, and just a little story. My grandfather, he migrated over here from the Philippines, really hard. You know, I had the chance to go back to where he had came from, and his family over there is very poor. You know, he was the oldest in his family too, and he worked in the rice fields. You know, and the story goes he was in the rice fields wearing a rice sack for pants. You know, and this was when the Japanese invaded the Philippines, and the U.S. Army was there, and they passed through his village, and he jumped on one of the army the army jeeps, U.S. Army jeeps, and held on to it, and they took him to the base over there, and he just said, "I want to work for you guys," or whatever, and he ended up joining the U.S. military that way. You know what I'm saying? And he came back years later. The story goes he came back years later to his village wearing a U.S. uniform, super proud, married my grandmother, and eventually he migrated over to the United States. You know, so he was a big part to play because when I went back to go visit my family in the Philippines, they were all telling me how privileged I was, to have gotten educated and everything here. So that that right there, I always looked up to him, for taking that risk, for doing what he did, because if he never jumped on that army truck or whatever, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. I might even be working in a rice field over there in the Philippines, struggling to make a daily living. But with all that being said, um, yeah, I looked up to him, very much. He was a father to me, and when I saw him, and I haven't thought about this in a long time, but I just remember when I saw him there, uh, he walked in and I was wearing my orange jumpsuit. I just couldn't believe it, because I always told my mom and everybody that I didn't want Grandpa knowing that I was there because he looked so highly of me. He thought so highly of me, you know, and I remember him walking in, and I was like, no, not him, and I put my head down and I just started crying. I just started crying. I didn't have any words because it caught me by surprise, and I just started crying. And then I remember looking up at him, and his eyes were red, and he was holding back his tears. He was
Like
holding
I'm
back his
holding my
tears.
back mine.
Yeah, he was holding back his tears, and he didn't have to say anything. He was an extremely proud man, and I knew at that moment in time he was very sad. He was. This is not the place where he pictured me being. You know, and I just remember saying, "I'm sorry, Grandpa." You know, I'm sorry, Grandpa, and we just started crying together. That's really the most of it right there. We really didn't have too much of a conversation. I just remember we just started crying together. And it was for a while. I remember, and then I promised him I was going to change. I promised him that I was going to change and that I was sorry. And that
Mhm.
was really the most of the conversation, was that there's just true emotions because it was emotional for both of us. I wasn't expecting him to be there, and he wasn't expecting me to be there either.
Yeah.
So, and then yeah, that was definitely a very hard turning point for me right there. Was
Right.
seeing my grandfather seeing me in jail.
So,
And mm,
whoo, let me take a breather real quick. Because it's the memories. And I
yes, the memories.
feel when you, in a sense, purge or cry on these memories, it's memories of the feelings. And it's the release, to release it, to breathe, to release that was my path, man. And I still see those, I still feel those feelings in a sense, but now the feelings are not a shame. It's feelings of now I'm living
Mm-hmm.
now, you know what I mean? And the purpose of having videos like this or doing this, I woke up that morning and said, this is what I need to do, is because of the world that we're living, there's so much division
Mm-hmm.
of color of our skin, the color of our eyes, financial, where are you at, poor, middle class, rich, whatever. But at the same time, if we remove all of that, we still feel pain, we still feel joy,
Mm-hmm.
you know. If I stabbed you, you stabbed me, we will still bleed red blood, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so wanting to, it just came to me doing these videos was just that we share this. What if
Mm-hmm.
what you share, what if that other person, whoever watches this, what if we share, what if your perspective, their perspectives of what we share, it's there,
Mm-hmm.
it pulses within us. So going back to your story, yeah, whew, grandpa, yes. There's
Yeah,
other
was
stories about him being a gorilla back in the
yeah,
Philippines, you know,
yeah,
and
that's it.
having to fight with a machete, and that all those stories came out when he passed on, and through his own brother, and I was shocked. So that, I guess that's another story or another video to share. But what, when you were incarcerated,
Um,
what motivated you? I guess in a sense you kind of explained it, but when you sat there, first,
uh-huh.
second, third, fifth, fourth, whatever time,
Yeah.
what motivates you to keep on going and not be like one of those guys that said would be 30, 40, 50 years old looking at lifetime sentencing or whatever
Mm-hmm.
the case may be? What
Mm-hmm.
motivated you to not become a depressed guy and say,
Mm-hmm.
F my life, all I am is a criminal? This
Mm-hmm.
is the thing that I I seem to face with some of my students, is that all I am now is a number because of my stat. Like your record was probably that thick or
It
even
was.
more. And was it one time that they got you confused with Pop's record?
Yes. Yes, yeah, because my dad and I had the same, we got the same name. I'm the third, my dad's junior. So yeah, there was a time that, they looked at me and they're like, I was 20 something years old and they were like, wait, can't be him. He's like, it says here that he's 40 something, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, there was a time that, yeah, they kind of got us confused.
Yeah.
But yeah, my stack of papers was definitely higher than Pop's over there. But another thing that Pop used to glorify is my dad got locked up many a times in the Philippines, for fighting, for getting drunk, for doing drugs and going out. And he was a martial artist, so his proving grounds was in the bar. He used to beat up people, and he used to glorify that with me. He used to say, I went in there and I beat these guys up or whatever. Or I used to do all these drugs. And my dad actually got kicked out of the Philippines because of that. He had such a bad record that I from what I heard the story goes that he had to leave. It was either that or jail. And he said, no, I'm going to go to the United States and live with my wife and this and that. So they let him go and they said, you can't come back for so many extra years because he was such a big troublemaker.
Mm-hmm,
You know
mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So with him saying all that, I was like, yeah, I got to be like him. I got to get in the fights. I got to go to jail and this and that. So the first couple stints in jail was like, yeah, I'm doing it. I'm doing what my dad was talking about. This is the thing. So but what kept me going was that the biggest thing, uh, one of the biggest things, one of the biggest changes in my life, and especially on the last stint, what was definitely because I was in there with a lot of people that were looking at a lot of time and were giving me a lot of motivation to stay out of there because I was younger and this and that. But one of them was my father, our dad. You know what I'm saying? During my therapy, um, I found the root of all my causes. Of why I was angry and why I did this and why I did that and why I got locked up and why I turned to alcohol and all of this stuff while I was like that, and I had to go back because my father, you know what I'm saying? He taught me how to steal. I remember the first time I stole something. We went into the thrifty store and he put a coat on me. He said, "Ah, that looks good on you," and ripped the price tag off of it, and he zipped it up on me. And we walked right out of the store with it. They didn't question the kid that was just, I think I was like 5 or 6 at the time.
Okay.
They didn't question the kid that was walking out of the store with a jacket on. They're not gonna think I'm stealing that jacket. And I remember my dad used to always steal stuff,
Oh
and
yeah.
put stuff in his pocket, like little
I
things,
also remember
like
the time where he beat the crap out of you for stealing candy
exact
with a
and that
big.
and that Yeah, and that goes back to the fact that, yeah, don't steal nothing, but then you're stealing. And so I had a really bad. It had me so confused. How can you say this and then yet you do the other thing? And I was a big thief. Ever since I was younger, I always felt I had to steal something. Every
Yeah.
time I went in the store, I had something in my pocket that I wasn't paying for. Every single time I felt like I didn't leave the store with a purpose unless I stole something for real.
Yeah,
That's
you
how
teach those
that's
snakes at the animal
I,
stores.
I would steal pets. I would steal candy. There was one time we were at the mall and the power went out, was flicking on and off because there was a storm. My best friend was with me and I grabbed the Super Nintendo, and as soon as the power went out for a couple of seconds, I ran out the store with the Super Nintendo in my hand. You know what I'm saying? Because I knew the cameras and the alarm systems weren't going to be
Oh my
on because the
gosh.
power. So that's how I felt. I always look for the opportunity to
Yeah.
steal something. You know what I mean?
So
But
it,
like going back to the question, what was one of the biggest influences for my change?
yeah, yeah. Well,
And
really, to keep you motivated, like I said, I've
yeah,
had students who give this thing called a title. I've been
mm-hmm,
I've been doing this since I was 14 years old. This is my
mm-hmm,
title. This is all I know. Da
mm-hmm,
da 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 da. Da. And we can say the same thing, but
mm-hmm,
fast forward now where we're at now. So, what is it in when you were incarcerated that motivated you not to go down either this depression, negative route? This is all I'm going to be. This is all I'm going to know. To I'm going to leave this place and I'm going to change. Like
mm-hmm,
people say that all the time, I'm going to change. But really, I
mm-hmm,
feel like it is a transformation because change is like this.
mm-hmm,
Transformation takes years. It may take lifetimes. It may
yeah.
take whatever. So what was it in jail that allowed you to um, not go down this path, but go down to, no, I'm not going to, when I leave here this time for real,
Mm,
I'm going to,
be different.
in the right path.
Yeah, and you're right. Change is life. Is all of life. It's not just when you get out and say I'm going to change. It's a lifelong thing. You're always going to be learning. You're always going to be changing. You're always going to be evolving. And progressing. That's what it is. And so one of the biggest ones for me, and to this day, is still the biggest one for me that motivates me to be the best, is my dad. Believe it or not. So
Wow.
when I was in there, I told myself, all of these things that's happening right now is stemming because of my father. Because I wanted to be like him because this is how he taught me. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? And then I switched it around on myself. You know, I switched it around in my head. Is that I'm going to be the exact opposite of him. You know, I'm going to be the best father. I'm going to raise my kids right. I'm going to control my anger. You know, I'm not going to glorify these things. I'm going to glorify the good things in life. And even to this day, I catch myself getting mad at my kids. And I think about what my dad would have done, and then I think about what I need to do,
Yeah.
because I don't want to go that route, and I easily can, and I could easily become a victim
I
because
think all of
that's how I was raised.
mm-hmm.
This is how I was raised. So this is how I can explain that I just want to beat the crap out of my kids. You know what I mean? But it's not that way. You need to communicate. And it's every day. Every day I got to think about that. Every day, and he keeps me motivated because I want to be. Our father has passed. And so we see the life that he lived and everything. And the way he went out. On his dying day, we were all there on his bed. We were there by his side, just his kids. And I think what's important is to think about your death, in life. How do you want to die? And how do you want to leave this? How do you want to leave this world? And I don't want to leave this world the way my father did. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to leave this world and leave the people that I have touched and that were by my side and this and that kind of upset at me, kind of mad at me. So this is my driving force even to this day. I want to be a better man than my father. That I want to take my father's name, our name, to another level. To the highest level that I can. I want to live my life to the fullest so that when I die, all the people that are going to be there are not going to be crying because, I'm dead or I'm not here anymore. They're going to be crying because, man, this guy here lived a full life,
Celebrate. He left a legacy of
not
not
just a
ego.
legacy, he lived, he lived, he lived, he lived his life to the fullest. He came from the bottom and then he worked his way up to the top. So it's always changing, and it's all about the little steps.
I like so in a sense I look at it as like leaving a legacy without the ego. You just did your life, and our name, that's not in a sense it's important, but I mean you do carry on that name, and changing the karma of our family is huge, in a sense.
Well, not that, because Pop's name was Carlos Bergante. That's what he went by, and that, and his dad, from his dad, my dad's dad too, he had the same name, and I never really met my dad. But from what I heard, he wasn't the best father either. My dad learned what he had learned to be a father from his father, from his father. So that's why he was such a not so good father, because his father figure was not good. So I could have easily went down that route, and I was going down that route. You know what I'm saying? I could have been just as bad as Pop, maybe even worse. And my excuse would have been like, hey, my dad's like that. So, that's all I knew, but in reality is we all have choices, we all have choices. And just one day I woke up and I wouldn't say one day, but I decided to start making the right choices. And it wasn't just one day. It's every day I wake up, every time something happens, you have the choice to go wrong or right. You have that choice, and if you start living a life of correct choices and you start making the right decisions and you add all those days up, imagine 90 days making correct choices, or 180 days, or 1 year, you're going to be a different person. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Not only that, it is reconditioning what you're conditioned to know. When every day you wake up and you make that right choice, it's reconditioning your brain, your whole being, from what you were conditioned to know since the day you were born.
So exactly, and that removes the labels off of you.
Exactly.
That removes the labels of, oh, I'm just a felon, or I'm just a drunk, or I'm just a convict. And the thing that helps me a lot too is my self-talk. Before, I was talking, when you get locked up, I'm hard, I'm tough. I got to go in there and I got to fight to prove who I am. And that was the first couple of times I got into fights in jail, over stupid stuff, the TV and this and that, over card games and this. So, because in my mind, I was just a tough, hard guy, felon, whatever, but now I got my self-talk is different, and that's what you put the labels on you. Put the labels on you. You are your worst enemy. So you start putting labels on your head. That's who you're going to be. But if you start putting positive labels on you, positive self-talk, then that's who you're going to be also, because those are just words. It's really your actions It's
Yeah.
really your actions. So once you start putting that in your head, then your body starts to do those actions as well. And
Right.
then you start becoming a positive person, and then you start affecting the people around you to be positive. And that's
Right.
what it's all about. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's where I'm at in my life. It's just constant progression. Constantly improving myself. And not wanting to be my father. Wanting to be that man that I admire. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right. Right.
So and the first thing you have to do also is you have to paint that picture, of that man, and constantly every day work towards that, and have that positive self-talk so you don't put those negative labels on yourself.
So once you were released,
Mm-hmm.
and let's go back a little bit. I just want to touch on this. We say change, and I have a wonderful wonderful friend. His name is Messiah Johnson, and most of the people know him locally. And Messiah came to me probably a year and a half ago. So I've been doing this jail project for about 2.5 years now. He came to me a year ago, heard about what we did. His little backstory is that he was sent to prison for X amount of years. He was given X amount of years and served X amount of years, and I think it was over 20 some years. And just to come out, just to find out that he didn't do it. So he was sent to
Wow.
prison for something he didn't do. And one thing was that he really touched me was when we had graduation the first time around with my male students, he came to speak. And one thing that really stuck out was change doesn't happen when you leave jail or prison. Change happens when you're in prison, because
Mm-hmm.
all you pretty much have is time to think,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And what's so great about the system as well is that, like you said, they had things in place for you to realize your trauma, to realize these things,
Mm-hmm.
I guess this is a good time to ask you, if you had what I teach in jails, how do you think the jails would be now? I mean, how would it, if trauma yoga was and meditation and nonviolent communication, all the things that we teach, Virginia Community Yoga teaches now in the jails, if it was spread out through all the jails,
Mm-hmm.
would you think that would even be a bigger benefit of people's healing process? Now, don't say it because
No,
I'm your sister, but
no.
because and we'll get to this, but you also are a jiu-jitsu, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu teacher, and you're married to a yogini wife. So you're married to a yogi.
That's
So
correct.
if the knowledge you have now, or the
Mm-hmm.
physical that you have now,
Mm-hmm.
and they were placed in jail when you were locked up, do you think people would heal even deeper?
Yeah.
Just talk healing. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I understand. No, and yeah, we didn't have any of that when I was locked up. But knowing what I know now, I do practice yoga also. Like you said, my wife is a yoga teacher, and I am a jiu-jitsu black belt. I'm deep into martial arts, and these two things alone make you go within. Make you go within to find
Yeah.
your answers, and make you really think deeply. You know. And meditate on yourself, and you come up with the answers yourself, and definitely I think if this was in the jail systems at the time, or in all the jail systems, that this would definitely help everybody there, because you're in a place of a lot of stress. you
Mm.
know People there are looking at a lot of
Move your
years
mic a
of,
bit. I can't hear you a little. Yeah.
yeah, is that better?
Yeah. So much better.
Yeah.
So much better.
Oh, I hope it was okay on the other
No,
parts there, but
I can still hear you. I just couldn't.
uh
I think.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it would. I think it would definitely help, in the aspect that people would have to turn into themselves to find the answers. You know, um, and being that in the environment that they're in jail, loss of freedom, loss of comforts and privileges and things like that. You have to turn in to get all of that. You have to turn in to get your freedom, because
When
your
you
mind's
say turn
always free,
in, what
yo.
is that? What does that mean for those that not understanding the turn in aspect?
Hmm.
What exactly does that mean of somebody that had your life? What does that mean now? Like turning in.
I think for me, I think it may mean a lot of different things for a lot of people, but for me, turning in is actually finding the root cause of the problem. You know, because I have a problem. I still have the problem, but I know what the root cause is.
Mhm.
So I know how to I know how to combat that. You know, when I have these feelings, when I have certain feelings that come up, and I want to do this, I know where it stems from, so I know what I need to do to make the right decisions.
Right,
You know, and you have to have a calm mind when you do that. You
right.
know what I'm saying? And you have to be mentally strong. And sometimes, you know, there's a lot of things that happen in life that no one else knows the answer to. Only you do. But we don't want to find answers because it's hard. You know what I mean? We don't want to deal with that. You know,
Mhm.
so we have to turn within. We have to go within. We have to look within our conscience. You
Yeah,
know, and feel what is right, and go with that. You
yeah,
know, and a lot of times with all the chaos, being in an institution where there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of bad influences, even being out here in the streets free, you have all of that. You know what I mean? You need something like that to ground you. You know, like yoga. You know what I mean? Like meditation, so that you
yeah,
can turn within you to find your answers, to calm your mind, to listen to your conscience. You
yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean? Because if you listen to your conscience, you're not going to make the wrong decision. You know what I mean? You're going to make the right decisions,
yeah,
because your conscience is not going to lie to you. You know, this is your true feelings. This is your
yeah,
true emotions. You know, and that's something I didn't realize. I didn't realize I really had to find the hard way of how to really listen to my conscience.
right.
You know, and walk in that path. You know, even now I'm figuring things out about my conscience and things like that. So it's a lifelong path, you know, and I think yoga has definitely helped, you know, and it helps in every aspect, you know, every aspect of life, you know, and
Yeah,
yeah, I believe it's a
so,
tool for life.
yeah. So, once you were released from that last
Yeah.
time, being incarcerated, what was your personal struggles to get on your feet? So before you go in, you have all these titles that your friends look at you as, you have all
Mm,
these titles that your family looks at you as, and
mm,
now being released,
mm.
how were you going to not remove these titles, but what were your struggles, I guess, in a sense, to prove something that I'm no longer that old Carlos. I am now, I'm pretty much, what were your struggles to get where you're at now?
Uh, so when I got released off that last time, um,
like
I
job,
first,
all this, like
yeah, so
having a
yeah,
record.
yeah. So when I got out, I was really at rock bottom. You know what I mean? I didn't have anything material wise. You know, I remember getting home, mom bringing me home, and I went into my old room there, and I had a couple items of clothes, but other than that, there was nothing there but my family. You know what I mean? So sometimes you have to hit rock bottom, you know, before you move up, because there's nowhere, as the saying goes, there's nowhere else to go once you hit rock bottom. There's the only one way to go is up. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? So I hit rock bottom. I came out. I didn't have anything. I just had, you know, the family there to support me. And yeah, so uh, I, I would say, you know, what really made me get to where I'm at today is just, you know, knowing I didn't want to hurt mom anymore. You know, I didn't want to see her cry anymore. And that I really wanted to not walk down Pop's path.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I didn't want to walk past. So it was a hard struggle. You know, I had to accept that I had this record, and uh, I accepted whatever jobs they were offering me. You know, I worked in construction for a little bit. Um, and my family helped me out. My uncle got me a job at the Coca-Cola factory, but there was a lot of things I couldn't do that was holding me back, you know, because of my record. You know, I couldn't drive, I couldn't do certain things because of my record and things like that. But I didn't use that. as an excuse. I didn't victimize myself because of that. I put myself back into school, you know, and I did not let any of that hold me back, because I knew that was the old me, and I knew that and I knew that there was change, and I knew that I was going to change, and
Is was there
I
sorry,
sorry, go ahead.
was there any of a time
Mhm.
that you went back into your old ways, like coming out of incarceration, you're feeling
Yeah,
lost and
yeah,
maybe desperate, you
yeah.
have your family, and
Uh-huh.
it's so funny you say you have your family, because I feel like a lot of people go in and think, oh, my family doesn't really care about me, my friends will be there, and were your friends there, like, that you felt like they were family more at one time in your life, that your friends were more than your immediate family, so throughout times of being incarcerated,
Uh-huh.
um I know you have one friend in particular that probably came and visit you, um and whatnot, but coming out, feeling lost, feeling desperate and all that, and you knew there was a struggle ahead of you, like, that feeling, like, what was your how did not did you, pretty much what I'm asking is, did you kind of fall back into your old ways but then pull yourself out of it, like, oh, I'm out, okay, no, I have to change, but I want to go see my friends, and your friends are probably doing the same thing that you were doing,
Mhm.
and you have that temptation, because this happens all the time. It's
Mhm.
either when you're finally out, you need to change. You got on
Mhm.
that path. All right, cool. You know what what triggers you, in a sense, your
Mhm.
triggers.
Mhm.
But in reality, you come out, you have to change. But you want to see your friends that are probably doing the same damn thing. And you
Yeah.
wanted to probably drink, you probably wanted to get high, but then
Uh-huh.
you pulled yourself out of that. How did you pull that yourself out of that without going back to who you used to know, who you used to know?
So yeah, I would be lying to you if I just got out of jail and walked the straight path to where I'm at right now.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah, that's I felt many times when I got out, that last time. Um, and I don't think it was just the friends, I'm not gonna say that they were
no, no, no.
that they were a bad influence on me and things like that. It was really myself,
Yeah, yeah,
it was really myself. So yeah, I went back into old habits, and I caught myself doing bad things. I caught myself wanting to steal again. I caught myself wanting to get really drunk and messed up or whatever, you know. But the thing is that I knew that I was messing up, yo. I knew that what I was doing was wrong, and I knew where that path was heading, you know. And I put a stop to it, you know what I mean? But there were many times I fell, many times, yo, many times, yo. Uh, you know, there were times that I was working a professional job and this and that, and I fell. I got out, and I went back to jail. I got locked up 1 or 2 times because I was driving on a suspended license and I shouldn't have been. And then I had to fess up to it. I had to tell my employer, say, hey, I messed up. I got out right away, you know what I mean? And I fixed it. I fixed the problem. And I think that was the main difference, is that I didn't run away from my problems as well too. I knew I had issues, and when they occurred, I fixed them. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, so I had to tell my employers, like, yo, I messed up. I'm sorry. And I was like, can I come back? I want to work here. And I put my ego down, and I had to do what I had to do. You know what I mean? But there were many times I fell. There were
yeah,
many times I fell. And what picked me up is that I always had this picture of who I wanted to be. And I
yeah.
knew that if I kept on messing up, I would never reach there. I would be going on the path where I didn't want to go. That's where Pop went. And I'm telling you, like, that was my guiding force. You know where you messed up. People that mess up, they know.
Mhm.
Dig down inside, yo. You can't blame your friends. You can't blame this and that. Because you're an adult now. You
Mhm.
have choices. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. My dad was messed up and this and that, that. I could use that as an excuse. But right now, at this moment, I'm 42 years old. I'm an adult, right? I know exactly what's right and wrong.
Mhm.
So, it doesn't matter what my dad did. It doesn't matter what the environment I'm raised in. I have the choice to do
Right.
right and wrong right now. And it was with all those other instances too that I felt,
Yeah.
that I have a choice. I
Yeah.
could play the victim role if I
Yeah.
wanted to, but I decided not to, and face my problems, and keep that image of that person, that who I wanted to be, and just kept on working towards that. Yeah, you're gonna go off to the wrong path once in a while, but you got to come back. You got to, you
Yeah.
know, because you know where that other path is going to lead you,
Right.
and this path here, the right path. Yeah, there's going to be blocks. There's going to be things that are going to be hard, but that's where you're going to grow,
Mm.
and I found that out, before, when I would hit something hard, uh, something hard in my life, some pain or whatever, I wouldn't go for it. I would try to work my way around it. I would drink so I can avoid that pain. But that's where the growth is at,
Right.
is going head on with the pain, and facing that and getting over it. Then when you go over it, you look back and you're like, wow, first of all, I learned something from that pain, and second of all, before this, I didn't believe I was going to get over it, and I did. So let's go on for the next challenge. Let's do the next one. What's the next one? And the next one. And the next thing you know, all your fears and all these things that you thought were hard are not really that hard.
Yeah.
And you grew closer to that person that who you wanted to be. You know what I mean? And I think that's what kept me going. Because yeah, there's going to be a lot of blocks. There's going to be a lot of obstacles in life, and you have the choice to go back
Yeah.
to the easy route. You know what I mean? And so that's what kept me on my path. Was that I didn't want to be this man that I was raised by. I wanted to be the exact opposite, and I knew exactly who this man that I wanted to be here. And so that's where I was going. When I slipped up.
Yeah. So you took your experiences and looked at your experiences, either if they were good or bad, and you took it as just as experiences, and you took it as teachings. Now your experiences weren't good, bad, da 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 da. It was, these are my teachings, especially the quote unquote bad ones. They were your teachings in life, and that you realized those things that made you motivate you even more.
That's
During
correct.
the
Hey, Christine, can we take a pause real quick?
Sure, we'll take a pause. Is this a bathroom break pause?
A bathroom break.
Okay, me too. Okay, we'll take a pause real quick, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're back. We're back. That's what you call having a lot of tea in the morning to wake yourself up.
Chimarrão is what it's called in Brazil here. It's a mate tea that I drink in the morning here. But yeah, it does the trick there.
Yeah. So
yeah. Repeat that last question you were saying there.
Oh gosh.
The lessons in life or something like that, right?
Well, yeah, we're gonna get into more of that. Of course, during the time of your transformation, really being released, did you have those self-doubts? Did you still have those titles worn on your chest? And when did you start taking those titles off your chest? When did you realize that? I mean, till this day, I know some people do have self-doubt. I mean, doing this, the video, I would never thought I'd be showing my face and telling about my story, but I thought it was very important. It just came to me. And I said, okay, I'm going to take this risk. And, and self-doubt, I think, is also self-sabotaging yourself to see your fullest potential at the same time.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So to answer your question, I think I can't remember the exact time where I started taking the titles off of myself, but I think it was over a length of time, so, of course, when you first get out, you got to, you're applying for a job, or you see old friends or old family members that haven't seen you while, they're like, wow, look at Carlos the convict. Or when you're filling out a job application, yeah, look at me. And, you have to put the check mark there that I've been locked up, that I'm a convicted felon, whatever, so that's already labeled on you, and that you have a high chance of not getting the job because of that. You know what I mean? So I think how I removed this, it wasn't like an overnight thing, like, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and get all these titles. It was over a length of time, as you start getting confident in the little things in life, the positive things in life, you start taking those titles off of you, So you get the job that you want. Okay, it's this kind of is starting to crunch down that title of now I'm a felon and I've been locked up, so then I can't get a job. Then you start educating yourself, and then you go back to school and you start educating you just take little steps towards that person you want to be, and then you start taking those negative titles off of you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was a length of time. It just didn't happen overnight. Eventually, once you become this person, the guy, the family man, the guy who's a jiu-jitsu black belt, who's self-motivated, who's always working to improve himself. These are the titles that these are the positive self-thoughts that I was going through in my head that eventually removed all the negative ones.
Mm-hmm.
Like I am a felon, uh, I'm a drunk, I'm a thief. Once you start moving towards that person that you want to be, then you start removing the titles, the negative titles.
Yeah.
So you just constantly need to take steps towards that person that you want to be.
Right.
That person that you admire, and then
Right.
once you start doing that, and then you start removing the other titles. Because like we said earlier on, that you put those titles on yourself,
Yeah.
and no one puts those titles on you. You
Yeah.
start putting them on yourself. They're all in your mind.
Yeah.
I don't even see myself as that anymore. I never, since this interview, I've never called myself a drunk or a felon or a jailbird or whatever, yo.
Yeah.
Man, it's been years since I thought of it, because every single day I've worked towards, being that man. And then now I see myself as a totally different person, totally different person. And now that, I don't even like to put titles on myself. I'm just who I am, for
Mm-hmm.
real. I don't even like to put the title of this and that, and then
Yeah.
I do this. This is just who I am right now, yo. I
Right.
am who I am. Like Popeye said, you know what I mean? I am who I am, yo, and this is who I am.
Yeah.
So and yeah, so I don't even have a title on myself, to be honest with you right now. But to remove the negative titles, you need to really
Negative
have the
titles, self-doubt.
yeah, you need to have that positive self-talk for yourself, and then work on little goals. If you doubt yourself, do something, set a goal, don't set it too high, and then complete that goal. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Then that doubt starts to go away,
Mm-hmm.
and then set another goal, set your standard a little bit higher, then that doubt starts to go away,
Mm-hmm.
and then soon the doubt's not even there anymore because you accomplished the goal. Then it's on to the next one,
Right.
and everything that's hard for you, everything that's hard, that's what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
That is where the
Like
growth
right now,
happens.
what's hard is doing video.
Yeah, what's hard right now is like, I'm not used to being on the video.
Uh-huh.
I'm not used to doing podcasts, but this is what needs to be done,
Yeah.
because people need to hear,
Yeah. Yeah.
people need to feel like you're not alone out there. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? That
And I
that once
love
you,
that you said that, not alone. We're not alone.
we're not alone. We're not alone, and we're not too different from each other. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying?
Yeah.
So if one person can change, there's a huge percentage that you can change as well too.
Exactly.
You know, so
Wonderful.
that's the point right there.
It's
And
beautiful.
change is possible, yo. Change is possible. You just got to go towards that
Yeah.
person.
Um,
And mhm,
so looking back in your life,
mhm.
would you change your past if you had a chance?
No, I would not, yo, because uh, it has made me who I am right now, and I know everybody would say that, but I look at all my qualities right now, and I think that's something you have to look at too, when you're self-doubting yourself and things like that. Everybody has their qualities right now, and all those tough circumstances that we went through, you know, uh, has built my qualities. I'm very strong-minded, you know. Um, when I set a goal and I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. You know, I'm made to endure. We went through tough times for many, many years. We had to endure those tough times, yo. Endure the tough times. So little things that happen right now, they're not even big to me anymore. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? They're not even big to me anymore. I look at, I come home and the kids are acting crazy. I'm not having a good day at work or this and that. And then I think about all the things that mom had to endure as a single parent. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? With a son who's getting locked up all the time,
Yeah.
an abusive husband. And my things don't look so bad anymore,
No.
And
No.
they are so minute. So you also have to think that your problems are not that big. You know what I'm saying? Your problems
Exactly.
are not that big. You know,
Exactly.
you just need to face your problems.
Yeah.
You need to face your problems and know that those problems and those issues are in your life for a reason. If you fail to ignore those issues and those problems in your life, you're not going to learn the lesson that's behind those. You
Yeah.
know, and that is the important thing. Is there's a lesson behind all of those, yo. All of those little things.
Yeah.
There's a lesson to learn, yo. Trust me on
Absolutely.
that, you know. And if you fail to ignore that, if there's a problem in front of you and then you pick up a bottle and drink because you don't want to deal with it, then guess what? You just missed a very important lesson, yo. And then
Mm-hmm.
when you're sober, you're going to have to deal with that tomorrow. And then guess
Mm-hmm.
what? If you drink that next day, you're going to have to deal with it the next day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you need to
Woo!
face it, yo. You need to go to where it's hard and then learn that lesson, and really absorb it
Yeah.
and put it in your life, and then it'll help everybody else around you.
Yeah. So, whoo, that was a good one. Thank you for that. Who and what inspires you now? It could be multiple people, multiple things. Knowing
Mm-hmm.
that your wife is a yoga teacher, I know she's given you some yoga teachings or knowledge
Mm-hmm.
to use in your everyday life. But let's go back to the first question: is who inspires you at this moment?
Who inspires me?
Yeah, I mean, you can give me a whole list of people who
Yeah,
inspires you to just keep on going.
yeah.
You know?
Uh, I can tell you, like, first of all, the biggest inspiration of my life is mom, yo.
Yeah.
Mom inspires me a lot. Like when times get really tough, like I just said earlier, times get tough. You know, anything in life, the kids, bad day at work, you don't have any money, and this and that, whatever, yo. I look at what mom had gone through, working jobs, three
Mhm.
jobs, working nights, single mom with three, like I said before, yo. You have to be mentally tough to go through something like that. No, nothing would break her, yo. Nothing could break her. Nothing could break her, yo.
Mhm.
And I look at that every single time. I feel like I want to give up on something, yo. I look at her and I'm like, my problem's not that bad, yo.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So she's a big inspiration for me, uh, the biggest inspiration for me, because she went through a lot in her life. I put her through a lot. We all put her through a lot.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
So, so she's a big inspiration for me, and another big inspiration for me um, is giving back. Giving back because that's the next step. You know,
That's your
and I,
inspiration. You inspire. Yeah. What inspires you
yeah,
to? Hmm.
yeah. What inspires me is as like you said, I do jujitsu, right? So I also teach the jujitsu the kids class. I'm their instructor, so that inspires me. These kids inspire me. It inspires me to be a better person because they're looking up at me. You know what I mean? They
Hmm.
see me as some of these kids don't have fathers. Some of these kids are going through the same struggles I went through. So this inspires me to be the best I can
Yeah.
for them. And I love when you give back, when you teach,
Yeah.
and then you see them brighten up. You see their eyes. You see that they have learned something that could possibly change their life,
Yeah.
or make them stronger mentally, physically, whatever. This inspires me.
Right.
Changing people's lives. And making sure that other people don't make the same mistakes that I went through. You don't have to touch the fire to know that it's hot. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Let me tell you, the fire's hot. You don't have to touch it. You know what I'm saying? Go the other route.
Yeah.
So that inspires me, and just to be a good person, because if you're a good person and you're a good man, and you do the right things and you listen to your conscience, then everything else around you is going to be the same. You're going to attract the same energy. So your world around you is going to be good. You're going to have good things around. You're going to have good people around. Your energy is going to be good. And it's the exact opposite. When I was doing negative things, when I wasn't listening to my conscience, everything around me was bad, It was
Right.
hectic, and now my life is totally different. So yeah, those are the two inspirations for me, is my mother. And I'm not saying those are the only two. There's a lot. You inspire me, like I said in the beginning. You
Mhm.
inspire me a lot. And there's other people. We're in the age of technology now, where there's a lot of people
Yeah.
that I don't even know personally, but
Yes.
through the internet, through streaming. Like, this is why we're doing this, you know. Hopefully I inspire somebody. Like, these people online inspire me. Like, you don't need to know me personally, but my story hopefully touches you, you know.
Mhm.
And there's people that I listen to online that, and then I'm like, wow, really, this guy went through this and this is where he is now, you know. Really, this person went through these struggles. They inspire me, you know. So
Mhm.
we're in the world of technology where you can find inspiration online, you know. It just doesn't have to be someone that knows you or you know them, you
Right.
know. But for me personally, what's inspiring me right now is definitely our mother. And what inspires me is to be a good person to the kids that look up to me, to teaching for the future generation, not just the kids I teach, but my kids too, you know, and my family for sure. My
Yeah.
family, you know, you know, I'm a leader. You know, I feel like I'm a leader for them, and and to be honest, you Pop inspires me because he inspires me to go the other route. You know, I want to be exactly who he was not. You know what I mean? So that inspires me too. You know, to be the best father I can. You know, for my kids, for my family. You know what I mean?
So
So.
yeah. So bouncing off that question,
Mm.
I want to ask, what are you doing now? Like, what is your job from what you came from, what your job is now, and what it seems to be your life calling at this time?
Yeah. So my job right now. So like
So you
when I
got your GED in lockup,
yeah, I got my GED while I was locked up. Right. Got
got
my
your
GED while
associate's degree through ECPI.
yeah, went to ECPI, got my associate's degree in computer science, right? And um, I also started doing jujitsu way back in the day. I had a dream. Well, let's go with that. So let's go with just the ECPI thing. So my job to support my family and all that is that I'm a network administrator for a company in California, but everything is 100% remote. And to tell you the truth, I pictured this, yo. I
Mm-hmm.
wrote this down. I wrote this down a long time ago that I wanted a job that I can be, you know, that would allow me to travel and work over the internet before I even had this, yo. Before I even had this,
Wow.
and it came true. You know, there was you know, this could be for another interview, but there was one point in my life where I thought I knew someone that, you know, I thought I knew love, and I followed my love and my heart, and it kind of fell through and it didn't go through. And I started a business and that business crashed. This was in the Philippines, you know, and there was a point in my life where I had $500 in the bank, and I didn't have anything. My wife left me. It was a really bad breakup. The business I was opening there crashed.
This
And I
is,
remember I
yes,
was
I
sitting,
wanted to kind of touch on that. So, in a
yeah,
nutshell, to give everybody a picture or perspective, my brother had his first marriage, like literally gave everything up from the States, moved to the Philippines with his wife at that time, started a business, put all his money into it, a calling center. It failed. His marriage failed. You started smoking, drinking.
started doing, yeah, I fell off
So that's
my
what I'm
horse at that
saying
time.
right then and there. That's what I wanted to ask you, was right
Yeah,
then and there when that happened,
yeah,
how did you not go back to the life that you, because that is life that you used to live is a condition into the mind and into the body. This is,
yeah,
and what you went through in that time,
yeah,
losing everything once again, hitting rock
yeah,
bottom.
yeah.
Wouldn't you think that would have been a trigger for you to go back to?
It did, and I did go back. I did started going drinking again for a little bit. I wanted to kill myself. I remember calling mom up, and I was like, I feel like jumping off this balcony right now. You know what I mean? Because I lived in an apartment. And I just wanted to end it all. I thought it would be easier. And so uh, you you have to look for inspiration, you know. So at this time, one of the biggest things for me, of course, was mom was always there to listen to me, but I started listening to inspirational people. And one of the
Mm-hmm.
biggest ones I listened to was Anthony Robbins, right? And so, like I said, you don't really need to know people and this and that to get inspiration. So I was really down. I was really down. Like you said, I left everything in the United States to follow who I thought I loved, to the Philippines, you know. And I sold everything I had in the United States. I had a really good job. I had a house, had a car, everything. I had everything. But the circumstances were that she couldn't live in the United States because after 9/11, her student visa got canceled. So I went there to be with her, to marry her, to start a family, and that all failed. And I invested all the money I had into a business, and that failed. So it was all at the same time. And so I started listening to Anthony Robbins, right? I started listening to Anthony Robbins, which was suggested to me by one of my jujitsu buddies that I was training with over there. So I started listening to him, and there was a program there of like listing all your goals, no matter how far or how far-fetched it was, even if you think you couldn't accomplish them. And I still have this piece of paper today. So I was sitting there at a Starbucks. Let me go back to the story, right? So I was sitting there at a Starbucks, and I had $500 in the bank, right? Something like that, 500, maybe less. And I remember my only options are, um, in a couple of days, I'm not going to be being able to pay my rent, and so I'm going to have to either call my mom up and say, hey, mom, I'm going to need help with a plane ticket so I could fly back to the United States and just start all over again, and probably live at my mom's house, find a job, start all over again, right? Or or bite down, bite down and start working from here, from this point of my life. So I was listening to Anthony Robbins at the time, and he had this program. I forgot exactly what the name of the program was, but I was listening to it. My friend gave it to him. But anyways, he had you list a bunch of things that you wanted to accomplish, dreams or whatever, in like certain amount of time. I think the first one was like in a year, and then 5 years, and then and kind of like and that, So I started listing things down, like crazy stuff, like I want a job that lets me work remotely and lets me travel. I didn't have a job at the time, I didn't even have a job. I was sitting at a Starbucks like, man, I'm gonna have to call mom, tell her to send me a plane ticket. Then I was like, I was really into Brazilian jiu-jitsu at the time, and I was like, I want to go to Brazil and train with the Gracies and get my black belt over there. And I didn't have any money to go back to the United States, And I started listening to all this stuff, that was just like way out of my league that I thought at the time. You know what I mean? But then I just started taking baby steps towards that. I started taking baby steps. The first one was that job, that let me work anywhere, whatever. So I just chomped down. I said, you know what? I'm gonna hold this $500 right here and live on minimal. And I just started sending resumes to companies and saying, hey, this is exactly what I want. This is what I can offer you. I want to work remotely and I want to do this. I sent it out to thousands of companies. They all laughed at me, but one picked it up. One said, you know what, we're going to give you a chance. You know what I mean? And that's all I needed, yo.
Yeah.
That's all I needed.
Yeah.
And guess what? I'm working a job that's over the internet, and I can live wherever I want to, if I really wanted to. You know what I'm saying? Because
that's
my
why you're
job's
in
on the
Brazil
internet.
and not here.
and and I'm in Brazil. I train with the Gracies. I trained with them, and I got my black belt in Brazil, yo. And those were the two things that were on my list. There's a lot more, and there's a lot more I still need to accomplish that are on that list. But those were the two main things, and I did it, yo.
So what is your calling now? Now that you've gone through this whole thing,
you know
what is
what?
your calling?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I do not know. I still feel like I have, and that's the thing with me. I'm still trying to figure things out.
Right.
I do not have it figured out yet. I feel like I should be doing more.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because my mindset or whatever, but I feel like I should be doing more. And I really like helping people,
Yeah.
And I think I need to do that. I feel for sure we are all here in this on this planet to serve,
Right.
to serve each other, because we are not so far, we're not so different. We're not so different. Like you said earlier, we all bleed blood, and I feel like I'm here to serve. I want to serve. I want to help people, and I feel like I'm there. Sometimes I look and I have these goals that I've already accomplished, like the dream job.
Yeah.
My jujitsu status. I'm teaching kids. I'm a competitor too. I have a beautiful wife, a beautiful family, things. But I just always looking to increase, to take it to a higher level. Take my life to a higher level, and I feel like I haven't even reached that yet. To be honest, I'm still finding stuff about myself to this day.
God, I think that's going to be a lifelong thing.
It is. I think.
More.
Yeah, I think until the day I'm on my bed, I'm going to be still thinking of what my calling is, and I think even when I'm in the next life, I'm probably going to be thinking about that, and I think that could be a driving force for people,
Yeah.
it's still, it's keep on searching,
Yeah.
it's keep on searching,
Yeah.
because sometimes I thought having the dream job and getting the black belt and all that, I thought that was my calling, but then I get that, and then it's like, you know, I feel like I should serve people more. So I started teaching the kids class, but then I feel like I should be giving more than that, I don't know what it is, but I think as long as your calling is something good and it's going to help others, I think you should go for it. I think you should
Doors
keep on
open.
thinking, yeah, the door's open.
Come
I
in
think
your
you should do
life.
that. It is going
Yeah.
to come in your life. You should let it out. Like I just said, let it out there. I let it out there. I want to help people. I want to share my experience.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that'll change a couple lives. Even one, whatever.
I think, I
And
think
this is
even,
going to be a calling.
right.
This is going to fulfill my heart.
Yeah.
It's going to make me feel good.
Yeah. And I think, you, you being my older brother, seeing what we've gone through, and I go in and like I never thought in a million years I'd be teaching in jails and stuff, being a prison yoga teacher and whatnot, and didn't know that was my calling because I've never been incarcerated, but I know you've been incarcerated in the hard life that we lived, and you're absolutely right. When I tell the story about you, even in a nutshell, where you are, where you were at, what your life was to where you're at now, I have, especially my men, this kind of like awakening call, like, wow, I can do that. I can do that. I could be living in Brazil like Christine's brother and doing whatever. It's baby steps. Um, Piggybacking on what you were all saying, what I've noticed on social media is that you've been doing more motivational talks and whatnot. So, what are you working on now? Bringing in what your calling is, your
Mm-hmm.
service, and
Mm-hmm.
right now in this moment, in this life of what are you working on now? I'm seeing this, you being my brother, seeing this shift of going out, like being outwards now, not
Yeah.
in internalizing and not being the introvert, but now being this extrovert of people need to hear this,
Uh-huh.
especially in these times that we live,
Exactly. Yeah.
living in this fear, living in this division, you know. So what are you doing now? Are you doing motivational speaking? Are you doing it in your jujitsu? Are you,
Mm-hmm.
videos? I mean, this is our
Yeah.
first video together,
Yeah.
so it's like, what is I guess your long lifetime of what, we talk about setting goals and stuff. What is that next goal for you?
Huh. So, yeah, you're right. I am making a shift here. I wouldn't say a shift, but there have definitely been some changes since the lockdown, and which is affecting everybody across the globe. And of course, there's a lot of negativity with that. You know what I mean? And a lot of fear. You know, but what I'm really working on now, and what I've been working on, but more so now, is personal development. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and I think that is big, yo. That is huge. You always need to invest in yourself, yo.
Yes.
Because if you don't invest in yourself, how are you going to invest in anybody else? How are you going to help anybody else if you don't invest in yourself? You know,
Yes.
so that is where I'm at right now. I am
That's
really investing.
I think we need to come back to that on another video. Alone is
Uh,
investing in yourself with the
you
life that
have
you
to.
lived. Wow.
So I'm investing in myself, right? I'm investing in myself, in my mind, my body, and then in turn, it helps my soul. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm posting more motivational stuff and this and that because I'm starting to invest in myself and see what has helped me get to where I'm at right now. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking that I think that I'm not the only one going through this. I'm not the only one seeing all this negativity in the world, or feeling the repercussions of this. The coronavirus and things like that. Even in Brazil here, it's been crazy. So everyone's kind of going through this. So I'm really diving deep into myself, you know, and I'm sharing that with others online, and I'm going to things that, and the thing I'm also doing right now is going to things that are hard, you know, me being on video. I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I sound, but I'm gonna go on there and I'm gonna post myself on there. Another thing I'm doing is that I'm not comfortable speaking Portuguese. Is my online and things like that. I say a lot of things wrong, but I'm going to post it on there anyway, you know, because the end message is that, you know, don't look at me, don't judge me by this and that. It's my message. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Listen to my message. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I want to touch as many people that I can, whether it be in English or in Portuguese. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I've been investing in myself, you know, ever since whenever, you know, but more so now, more
Yeah.
so in this day and age. And I think everybody needs to put more effort in investing in yourself, because I've seen it change, not just me, but I've seen it change my family right
Yeah.
now, even in just this short time. You know, I really started putting like 80% of my day and more actually investing in myself since this lockdown, because there's no more jujitsu right now. You know, there's no more teaching classes for the kids. So I got a lot of free time. I'm working still, it's remote, but I got a lot of free time to really invest in myself. So I'm putting it all in there, you know, investing in myself, which just doesn't mean like reading books and things like that. I'm investing in my body, yo. I'm working out. I mean, if you look at my videos, I'm showing the workouts that I do, because, you know, you have to go. You have to. I've always said this. I think a healthy body is a healthy mind, and a healthy mind is a healthy body. You know,
Yeah.
what you have on the outside reflects who you are on the inside, and vice versa. You know what I mean? So you have to have it all the way around.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and then when you have that, then you can influence other people. And I've seen it not just change me, but I've seen it change people in my family, just, you know, in the last month or two. You know, the investment that I put in myself, that energy I put in myself, I've seen it pass on to
Yeah.
my wife, to my kids. You know what I'm saying? And I've
Yeah.
seen that. You know, they're saying, wow, you know, look at Carlos. You know, he's waking up early, he's working out again. You know, I'm going to do that too. And the thing is, I don't force people to do it. I lead from the front. You know, I don't go there and say, you need to wake up early. You need to do
Yeah.
this. You need to work out. You need to study this and that. You know, I do it. They see me doing it. They see me waking up early. They see me, I have a program that I do in the morning, my workout routine, you know, and a reflection and meditation routine that I have in the morning. And then I get into my workout, and then that gets my whole day going, you know. So they see me doing that, and then it reflects on. I see them doing that now too, and I didn't say not one word, you know, but then I see them doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's
so
awesome.
yeah, self-investment. This is where I'm at right now, and this is where it's gonna be. You know, you should be investing in yourself a certain percentage
Well, I
every
can't.
single day.
Right.
You
I
know,
can't wait to
do
hear your podcast when it comes out.
that.
I have two more questions.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, my next question is, two more questions before we, end our video and whatnot, our conversation. But what is your hopes for people that watch your interview, especially those that have gone through the same or similar path as you?
Uh-huh.
Like if you have advice to give somebody who may feel lost of trauma, incarceration, violence, drug abuse, alcoholism, but really, what is your hopes for people when they watch your interview on Virginia
Uh-huh.
Yoga? What is your hopes that they get out of your video or your journey, your story, your voice?
Um, I think the biggest thing is that change is possible. You know, change is possible. You know, you could be exactly who you want to be. You know, you need to be exactly who you want to be. You need to. The world needs you to be, you know, that person that you want to be. You know, that voice that's inside of you, your conscience is telling you to do this. That is where you need to be in this world, because then you're going to help others. You know, so you need to believe that change is possible, and you need to be the change that you want to see in this world. You
Mhm.
know, so you know, if you want a better world, you need to start with yourself. You
Yeah,
know, you need to start with yourself. You need to start developing yourself personally and things like that. And change is possible. It's a long road, but that road is until you die. You
mhm.
know, and when you get out, you need to start. You need to start taking baby steps. You know, and know that when you fall, that you can pick yourself right back up and get right back on that road again. You know, you can do that. You know, I'm not the only one that's done this. You know, there's people that have been on rougher roads and tougher roads. You know, and have fallen many a times. You know, but that doesn't mean you have to still go down that road, because you know that where that other road is going to lead you. So
Mhm.
change is possible, and be the change that you want to see in this world.
Yeah,
You know, those are my things. You know, change is possible in every way. You know,
yeah,
so change, yo, it's your choice.
yeah,
You can't use your past. You can't use your past as a crutch. You can't use your past as and victimize yourself, you know, because anybody can do that, you know.
Yeah.
I could say, yeah, you know, like I said before, you know, yeah, my dad was this and that and this and this is why I am today and this is how I'm gonna be. But man, you are an adult, yo. You could probably have said that when you were 13, 12 years old, but when you're an adult, yo, you know already, yo, you know exactly. And when you do something wrong or when you do something bad, for real, yo, you know it, yo, you feel it, you
Yeah.
know. You need to make amends and then do the right thing, you know,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
your world will be right again. You know what I mean? So that is exactly what you need to do.
Yeah.
Uh,
I always tell like my students, I think that the best teachers in life are the ones that had the worst or the hardest.
yeah,
Because how you switch it to this image of yourself to this positive image of yourself, and you could actually look in the mirror and say, damn, I love you, dude. Damn, I love you, girl. You know, you had a hard path. And I always tell my students, you're the best teachers for our youth, you
yeah.
know. And they have this willing to serve. So
But
yeah.
this is what's called the hero's journey. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
wow, that's
This this is the hero's journey. You know, this is the story everybody wants to see. Yo, you know, you don't watch a movie because some guy lived a life that he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth and then he died. Yo, you know, you want to see the life of a guy who struggled, of a woman who struggled, went through mad struggles, wanted to quit, almost died, and then raised out of the fire, you know, a strong, you know, unbreakable person, yo. And
yeah,
that's the hero's journey, yo. And everybody has that, you know. Even if you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, I remember I was locked up with millionaires, yo, but they had drug addictions, yo. They had everything. They had everything, but they were addicted to crack, to cocaine. You know, they had everything, you know. So everybody is struggling, yo.
yeah,
And that is where that struggle, that problem, you need to get over that. You need to learn from that because there's a lesson in that. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
then, you know, once you get over and get over that, then the next step is, you know, probably share that, you
yeah,
know what I mean? And
yeah,
help somebody else that's going through that,
yeah.
you know? So yeah, the
Wow.
hero's journey, yo, that's what it's all about. Paint your story, yo,
Yeah.
paint your story, you know,
Wow.
exactly the way you want it. You know, when I go out and everyone's around on my bed, you know, that's what I want. You know, look at this guy right here, you know, and that's why you need to think about how you want to go out,
Yeah.
you know, and you need to live each day. You need to live each day like you're gonna die that day. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, did I do the best that I could have done? Because I could die today. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So yeah,
Right.
that's exactly
Woo.
it is right there.
So my very last question for for you is, what is your gratitude?
Hmm. My gratitude right now, man.
What is your gratitude?
I have a lot to be grateful for right now, yo. I really do. You know, I look at my family. Probably hear my kids screaming in the background there, and all of that.
I got my little boy knocking on the door like, are you done?
Uh,
Are you done?
yeah, yeah. My gratitude is my struggles, yo. I am grateful for all the obstacles and all the struggles that I went through. I'm grateful for that, for real, yo.
Yeah.
At the time, you know, you go through those, you're just like, man, why the hell am I going through this? Why is it so hard? And why am I the only one going through this? This sucks. But I'm really grateful for those, you know.
Right.
And at this point in my life, I try to put myself in those positions, you know, where it's hard, where it's painful, you know, not like putting bad things in front of me and doing bad things so I could get over them, but in a positive way. Like for example, this morning I went for a really long run until my body said you need to quit, you know, you're getting tired, blah blah blah, and then I pushed more. So this is adversity right there, you know. This is an obstacle. My mental, you know. I know that when my mind says you need to quit and stop, you're only at 60%. You got another 40% to go. So I push myself more, you know. And so I'm grateful for all the adversities and all the obstacles that I went through, and all the challenges, you know. I'm grateful
Right.
for that, and I know that's where the growth happens. So if I want to grow more and more and more, I got to put more of those in front of me, you know, like this video, you know. I'm scared to do all of this stuff, so I'm gonna put it in front of me. Let's go, you
Yeah.
know. You know, my workouts, you know, I try to go until I can't go anymore, and then I say, let's go a little bit more. You still got 40% to go, and
Yeah.
that's the adversity. Then after that, and then once you get to that point where you feel you can't go in, that's when you got to put in your positive self-talk,
Yeah.
that's when you got to start talking positive to yourself, because then that's what's going to get you through that. And then when stuff really happens in life, then you know what to tell yourself, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Then that's what's going to get you through. So
Wow.
yeah, embrace your struggles, embrace the obstacles in life, because that is where you're going to grow,
Right.
and that's what I'm grateful for right now. I'm
Wow.
grateful for all of those,
Well,
all the struggles and all of the obstacles that we've gone through in life, and the ones that are coming, and I
yeah,
know they're going to come,
of
so that's
course.
what I'm grateful for.
Of course. And wow. Well, I just have to say to you, Kaloy, um, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being that first person to do this interview with me. You are such an inspiration. You're inspiration to me. You're inspiration to everybody. And when people see this, I know they want to be like, who is this dude, yo? How can I reach out to him? How can, when I feel down, how can I see his motivational talks or whatever, what you're up to and whatnot? Maybe they could contact you. So do you have any social platform that you're willing to give out for people to like just reach out to you or just even follow you?
Yeah, for sure. And like I said in the beginning, you are an inspiration for me. You're the one who got me on here. You're the one who got me on here, yo.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you for putting me on here for real, yo. But yeah, definitely reach out to me. I'm more active on Instagram. I'm the local gringo, right? So DA_local_gringo. Or you could just search Carlos Bergante on Instagram and pull me up, say what's up to me, whatever, it's all good. And also my Facebook account, you can just do a search on Facebook, Carlos Bergante. I'm on there too. And, if this thing takes off, I'm really looking to be more on the social media part, for real. I mean, whether it takes off or not, I just want to help people. I'm probably going to put something on YouTube
Yeah.
and things like that. But yeah, I'm just getting my feet wet as well. But I know this is the next calling. I know I need to share this. I know that I'm not the only one going through this
Yes.
and have been through it, and
Yeah.
and I want to help people. Because this is for the world. This is to change not just one or two people. This is to change the next generation. This is to change the world. Like
Mm-hmm.
maybe one person listens to this, he changes or she changes, and then that person touches another person, not another person, and next thing the world's a better place. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So yeah, hit me up, social media, search
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
If you got any questions for real, I'm down to help.
Yes. And people that are watching, you definitely can hit up us at Virginia Community Yoga. We do have a website, virginiacommunityyoga.org, to tell you a little bit more about what we do. We are a nonprofit organization. So again, these videos are not about, hey, donate. This is for you guys to listen. But if you are really all about the things that we do and you want to support us, we have a donation button on our website. You could also email our team at info@virginiacommunityyoga.org for any information of just anything. And, again, we're a new nonprofit, so bear with us. Again, this is our first interview. Before we close this interview real quick, Chloe, is there any other last words you would like to say?
Um, yeah, just be the change that you want to see in this world for real, and believe change is possible. I'm gonna say that over and over again, because don't doubt yourself that you can change. You may have done things in the past, but that doesn't mean you can't change for the better. You know what I mean? And believe in that, and picture that person. Picture that person who you really want to be for
Yeah.
real. Sit down with yourself. Write it down. This is who I want to be. This is how I this is physically, this is how I want to look. Mentally, this is how I want to be. My demeanor, this is how I want my demeanor to be. This is how I want people to see me. And then picture that. Write all those down, and every day take a little baby step to get there. And you're gonna get there eventually, for real.
Yeah.
And just believe in that. I believe in you, and
Mm.
I believe in myself. you know, and yeah, just continue doing that, you know, and invest in yourself, invest in self, yo,
Yeah.
invest in self.
Like I
That's
said,
it, man.
I'm waiting for that podcast, you know. Maybe
Yeah,
the
we'll see.
hero's journey, is that what you're gonna name it? If you don't name it that, I might have to take that title, hero's
Uh,
journey.
that's what it's about, yo. Maybe we'll see what's up, yo.
Okay. Well, again, I thank you for coming on, and I hope to see you guys soon. And
Yeah,
you
me too.
take care. We're gonna go ahead and
Yeah.
stop the recording. All right.